Hi, Danielle. Thank you for joining me today on the show. This is uh this is going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if you had opportunity to listen to previous episodes, but the way we typically like to do this is just like a free-flowing conversation. I have like a few ideas in my head that I wanted to bounce off of you, but just generally a good place to start is you introducing yourself to our audience.
Sure, let's do it. First of all,
So,
honored to be here.
handing you the mic.
Thanks. Thank you for inviting me. Yitzy. Yeah, I have been a big fan of your podcast. I cannot tell you that I have been listening from the beginning till the end because I'm a very hectic, hyperactive person. So I'm always doing everything a little bit in diagonal, but I have listened here and there to many things that you have released and have been a big fan.
Much appreciated.
So I'm running a venture builder.
Welcome to Beyond the Code, the podcast where industry experts and brilliant legal minds discuss the impact of new emerging technologies. I'm your host, Yitzy Hammer, a lawyer and tech enthusiast. Join us as we explore the legal, regulatory, and ethical issues surrounding AI, blockchain, and more. Get ready to go beyond the code and stay ahead of the game.
I'm Danielle and I'm running a venture builder called W Source. Venture builder is something that you can define in different ways. In our case, we're deploying smaller tickets and offering commercialization for deep tech. So within deep tech, we also have a very big space for crypto. So that indicates that we're not dealing with applications, not dealing with meme coins, not dealing with all kind of exciting commercial things, but mostly doing infrastructure and complicated technologies that need deployment.
Okay. First of all, you didn't answer the question of who you are, because that's just what you do. I generally like. I would like to know about a bit more about who you are. Second of all, I want to double click on like the venture builder model because I've seen different models. I want to understand yours a little bit better. And third of all, I would love some examples of like what constitutes deep tech as far as you're concerned. But start with just telling us a little bit more about who you are.
Sure. Who am I? How do I find myself? I'm a red hat, I'm left-handed, and I'm dyslexic. This is who I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Like if you have to pin yourself down to like three descriptive terms, like that's where you went to go with. Like I'm dyslexic, I'm a redhead, and what was the third one again?
Red hat, left-handed.
Eventual build. Oh, left-handed. Okay.
Like on the wrong side, but
So
okay.
that's how you define yourself. Okay. Cool. So where did you
New
grow up?
definition. A new definition of me.
New definition. Wait, are you Israeli initially? Because I hear like a
I'm
bit of an
Israeli
accent.
European. So basically I grew up in between.
Okay.
So in Europe, they consider me Israeli. In Israel, they consider me European, and I consider myself citizen of the world. So
Okay.
no problem there.
I get that a lot. Like when I go to the States, they're like, "Oh, you're so Israeli." When I'm in Israel, they're like, "You're so American." So I could understand that. And yeah, I also consider myself a citizen of the world. I like that. Very nice. So you grew up a little bit of here, a little bit of there, and then just one day decided that you're going to get into venture building, or you went through some kind of a career path that took you there.
Yeah, there was a career path, but maybe I will elaborate on what I told you earlier because, like
No,
you
no, no,
said,
we're not there yet. I like to go chronologically. Start with like your background, and then we'll get to what you're doing now.
no, the background, that this is where I
Okay.
want to elaborate basically because I define myself the way I defined myself earlier because since my childhood, I always wanted to fit in.
Okay.
So my dream was to fit in, to be like everybody else. So today I'm kind of doing self-development or like, self-realization with the time and wisdom and experience. I understand that I don't want to fit in. And that's why I present myself this way.
Okay.
So that
So
goes there.
like you like distinguishing yourself from others being left-handed, redhead, like now you're proud of the things that you don't fit in with.
I embrace it. Yeah, this is
I
who I
like that.
am. And that's why I can deliver things that other people cannot deliver. We all contribute different outputs, right? So this is what to expect. And about my background, so basically my both parents are engineers and I was a
Okay.
little bit of a rebel. I went to religious school and I wanted to do exactly everything opposite. So I didn't want to be an engineer. So I studied finance and marketing. And then during my studies already, I asked permission of the dean to work. So from the day one of my studies, I was already working full time. And I did chemical products in Paris. very
Okay.
interesting company, which taught me everything about plastics and how they're made and how they're distributed. And then I switched completely because my second major was finance, and I did junior trader of derivatives for SocGen, for Societe Generale. So
Okay.
very different experiences. And then after all that, somehow my resume ended up with Philips Electronics in the Netherlands, because I speak several languages, as we said, grew up in Europe. They were interested in my profile, although I'm not an engineer, and they put me into an assessment center. Assessment center was a thing in Europe. I don't know if it's still happening also in the US, where you get in a hotel with another like 50 people, sometimes more, for a day two, and you have different assignments, group assignments, single assignments, there are cameras, there are judges, the whole thing is going on for a couple of days. It was a lot of fun. And I'm not sure what they were measuring and how they were measuring, but somehow I ended up with a contract at Philips Electronics.
Okay.
And I found myself,
Assessment centers like Merkaz Aracha.
yeah,
Okay. Where they're like watching you behave in different
oh, no,
situations. And then they say, like, okay, we're going to put you in this position based on the way you reacted in this situation.
no, they had like 50 people applying for jobs in Philips without having a specific job.
Okay.
They were just
Cool.
testing talents. This is how they did it. Also, Toyota and Shell, like all the big companies in Europe were doing it big time.
Okay.
So yeah, so I ended up as a contract, something which was not clearly defined, but I was promised a career path and I got it. So basically here I was a foreign female, non-engineer entering a 100% engineering male Dutch company. It's
Your
very
parents must have been so proud.
Yeah, my parents, well, they thought I was crazy, but here I go. I did everything not to be an engineer, and this is where I ended. So I learned on the job. And I think it was like school of my life, this company. I mean, they taught me everything. Imagine I had to go with schematics. I had to go with plastics. What we were doing, we were building products from scratch. Basically, there was an idea and it had to be deployed. The entire value chain had to be delivered to the end customer. So it was extremely, extremely wealthy experience for me. I think it has really set me up for life, for my professional life and personal as well, because to be honest, I haven't realized that I was the only woman there. I was just doing my job. Today, I hear a lot of women also in crypto, that are saying, well, it's very difficult to be a woman and you don't get the jobs and you don't get a chance. You don't have equal opportunities. Well, I would argue with that because I had no idea that it was not okay to be a woman. It was not okay to be an engineer. I just got in there and I did the job. I delivered and, I
Like
achieved.
the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. So that was
And
the
when you share that thought with like women who have the on the opposite side, like how is that received?
not well, of course, but I mean, there are also always people in the middle.
Right.
They're not only extremes. Yeah, I cannot identify today with women that are creating all kind of women organizations that are saying that we don't have enough opportunities, we don't have this, we don't have that. And when you start asking them what have they tried, you realize they haven't tried. So that's really,
They want it just handed to them in a silver platter.
yeah, that I think is wrong. I mean, we should help and we should encourage, and I stand for equality. I do hear from many people that there's still difference. There's still difference in wages, which is absolutely unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Yeah.
And that's a discrimination like any other discrimination, which should not take place. But creating a special place for women, I don't know. It's a debate. If you people told me that I do not understand that not everybody has this kind of character like me and just goes in and does things, that some people do need, a more accepting environment because we all are different, right? Each individual works better in a different environment. I work very well under pressure, and I work very well when it's challenging. But not everybody is like me, so there I have to accept that I'm not probably a good example.
Okay. Fair enough. So you started your career off at Philips, and then where did that take you?
Took me to the great lengths. I mean, I was making agreements with Panasonic and Sony and LG and Samsung, and it took me basically to Asia. I spent most of my time in Philips in Asia. So it opened many doors to me and it opened an understanding of Asian culture, uh, connections in Asia, and also like really knowledge of the ecosystem. Because what it takes when you want to take your product somewhere, you need to understand where you're going. You need to understand, how this market is built. Who are the players? What are the channels? There are lots of things that I had to learn.
Right.
And yeah, and Asia, is a very interesting market for many of us, especially in crypto. These guys are the early adopters. So most of the projects, early projects went first to Asia before they could go anywhere else.
Right. It's interesting. I think like Asia, the Emirates, and also really in the United States. I mean, we take it for granted just because like I come from there. But like there are so many cultural nuances that you really need to understand and able to be able to do business in these areas, right? Everybody talks about the opportunities coming out of Asia, the opportunities coming out of the Emirates, and there really are a lot of opportunities there. But it's very difficult to break into these circles if you don't understand the cultural nuances that are required to do business with these types of people or with any type of person that's just like inherently different than yourself. So
Absolutely. I think
so how
culture.
did you break into that like Asian like how did you break through the Asian barriers that enabled you ultimately to be so good at what you do?
You learn by doing, basically. I learned by doing, so I made lots of mistakes. And in the beginning, I had translators and what have you. It was very difficult. Imagine negotiating in Korea where the entire room, no one speaks English except for my translator.
Right.
And it's funny fact, that in Korea to sign a contract, you need to drink, and I'm not a drinker. So you have to drink suju. So my translator was an amazing guy who was very, very high up in Philips Korea. And his role was not only to translate, he was also swapping my glass and making sure I drink water and not sushi. So it was pretty amazing. He got me through.
So like he understood the cultural nuances and he understood also how to hack through them.
He understood that as a foreign female, I had to drink.
Wow. Okay.
And we had it very clear that I'm not able to drink. I mean, Philips even once gave me training in the very beginning of my career because I cannot even drink wine. That's a really bad case. I get drunk very, very quickly. And I remember I was this very high up guy in Spain. We were negotiating some special plastics for Philips. I was the negotiator, and they were, they kept pouring wine into my glass, and I forgot if we came to buy or to sell. It was extremely embarrassing, and he prescribed that I should get some kind of training, but it didn't really help. So not a
Training
drink.
in how to drink.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's such a thing. Yeah, you,
Okay.
you you want to negotiate. I was a negotiator. That was my role in my file in Philips. It said top negotiator.
Wow.
There,
Okay.
but not
That's a cool
negotiating.
title to have.
Yeah, I was very proud. Very
Uh,
proud. So
okay.
the whole negotiation thing, there are many things you can derive from it because the negotiation works when there is a perceived win-win, right? That's how it works. How to reach perceived win-win. This is where the whole thing that we just uncovered, like culture, differences, market,
Okay.
comes in. You need to understand the person across the table. And only then you can reach the perceived win-win.
Okay. Give me a use case.
Or perceived win-win.
Yeah.
No, I cannot because I will tell you why. Because I'm anti-NDA, so I can never disclose anything that
Okay.
I
It doesn't have to be a
hope for.
specific example, but
And an
just like a
example,
hypothetical based on a
sure,
real example.
hypothetical, I can give you, of course. So let's say that your objective is to sign an agreement with another company, right? With
Hmm.
another law office. Let's say, hypothetically, it's an office in Vanuatu. Yeah. So your objective is actually to obtain from Vanuatu favorable conditions for people that you will bring in. Not necessarily on crypto side, maybe more like on a government side because it has preferential tax regime,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
have you, right? And the objective of the Vanuatu office is to basically also sell their law services, right? So if you can understand what their objective is, that they want to basically bill for their legal services, and for you, the objective for the specific customers is actually to take care of their specific situation, it can be win-win because you might bring in customers that are already your customers, already paying customers, and all you need in Vanuatu is for them to get residential preferences, right? So whatever is happening in Vanuatu will be built to
So you're
this
saying
office.
just understand both parties' interests and come to a realization as like how both parties could be happy.
See how you can strike a deal that everybody gets what he wants. Of course, the difficulty is that if you disclose your cards, the other side can always abuse you. That's the problem, always the trust, right?
Right. So keep your
Otherwise,
cards close to
everybody
your
would come and
chest.
just put on the table the cards, right? What you need, what they need, right? But sometimes there is this arbitration going on that maybe what they need actually doesn't bother you, but you think that they need something else. And then the negotiation goes a little bit, unclear. Like, what are we trying to achieve? Is it 50-50 on everything? But basically, what they want is actually fine with what you need. So how to get there? So to get there, usually you need to ask many questions. And sometimes you need to ask questions that are not direct. You need to go around it. And then maybe you need to meet them socially and have a drink with them. And, there's a long road sometimes to this understanding. But in the end, that it is what it is. There's a trust issue. And again, we called it perceived win-win, which means that maybe they could win more.
Right. Or
You
that
could,
maybe both parties are really losing. They're just
that
perceiving that they won.
the idea is to reach the perceived one because
Yeah.
this is when you're going to be happy.
Very cool. So are you a professional negotiator? Is that what you do?
This is was one of the things that I did, but
That's what you did. But I'm saying
yeah.
like in today with your venture building and
No,
and
today,
connecting people, like where does negotiation fit into your day-to-day life?
well, today the negotiation fits. The win-win is always there, right? The win-win is always what you want between your, clients,
In
suppliers,
any relationship,
your
right?
work, right? You in every situation need win-win. So negotiation teaches us how to reach the win-win, but in the end, we use it every day and every second even of
Yeah.
whatever we do, right? But today, my key strengths are basically making the strategy. What we do compared to others, because we're very small, fairly small player. So we come in where the complexity is. So if you have a fairly easy application or product and you just need to mass market it, it's not here. Here is where you have complexity, where the product needs to be translated to the end customer, where you need to find use cases, where you need to find markets that will adopt your product. This is where we come in.
You say
We,
you mean W source.
me and my partners, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, we have knowledge of the markets, we have knowledge of the industry, and we have knowledge of deployments. So basically, there are different ways to go to market, right? There's the old fashioned and very expensive way is heavy marketing, right? That everybody knows. You can do digital marketing today. Before you did TV, you did, all this, advertisement, billboards, there are many different ways to make yourself known,
Hmm.
right? But usually we're dealing in the intersection where you and I are active are often in the beginning where people don't have budget. So how do they go to market? This is where you need to be creative and you need to be knowledgeable of the product, of the technology, and of the market. So create a strategy, see how it's going to go, build the channels, build the distribution, and then deploy it.
Okay. So
This is
why
another way of commercialization. Yeah.
if you're so good at that, right? Assuming that like this is where your expertise is, why only for deep tech? Like why wouldn't you apply the same methodology to any other tech as well?
Okay, you go back to what a question we haven't answered about deep tech, right? So basically the
First of all, you're going against all my rules. Like I didn't want to jump to back to W source or back to venture building. I wanted to continue on your path. Like after you left Philips, what did you do between then and like whatever the 15 years after that until you got to what you're doing now? So give me a quick rundown of like from Philips after leaving engineering and top negotiating, what you did in between for the next X amount of time.
basically already during Philips, I opened my W source, which
Oh
was a
wow! So it's been going
consultancy.
on. You've been doing
Very
that for a long time.
long time, yeah. So initially, activity of W source was to help Asian companies to penetrate the European market,
Okay.
to help European and American companies to penetrate the Asian market.
Hmm.
But our initial services were limited to electronics, hardware, and all
Okay.
these hard devices. Then there was a market change. From hardware, we went into software, right?
Hmm.
This transition. So when this transition took place, we have positioned ourselves into software. So we started selling cyber, AI, and all kind of other different technical solutions to banks and big tech. And from there, we have entered into crypto. So
Got you.
basically, within
So,
the
but why is
fintech,
that venture building? Like typically, from what I understand from other models, is that venture building is when you basically start lots of companies. Like maybe you find like a co-founder or something. You will be like the initial CEO, put in the initial money, get it off the ground, website, maybe a little bit of seed funding. And then you'll go ahead when it gets to like a certain degree of maturation, hire a CEO and like send it on its way. But the difference between that and being like an early stage investor is that you'll retain a lot more of the equity because you did a lot more hand holding with the initial co-founders. Is that
you got it right. But venture building is the latest form of W source. W
okay?
source
So you didn't
started
start
as
as
an
a venture
advisory.
builder.
No, W source started as an advisory business,
Okay,
outsourcing business. So basically, people outsource sales channels to us, and we advised on market penetration and
got
how.
you.
Yeah. From
Okay,
there, we have evolved into from hardware to software. Within software, we also started doing investment banking. So the combination of investment banking and deployment has led to venture building.
got you. Okay.
Decided to put own tickets and then deploy products to market. This is how it has developed. Now, within venture building, what you said is right. My personal definition of what you said, when you have an idea, like if you take Team 8, for example, in Israel, which is typical, but there are many other companies in the world where they have an idea and then they find the right people to execute it, and then it spins off. This for me is more like venture studio. On
Right.
our side, the equity part is still very light. Yes, it's more than a typical investment, and this is where it's interesting, but it's less than 50% or more when it's a venture studio. But there are many different forms of venture building that you can see. There's several
Hmm.
venture builders right now on the market, even in crypto. Moreover, the new development in investment market, the recent trend to register RIA. RIM is a special license which has been approved for A16Z, I believe. I'm not sure, Lightspeed and Sequoia. I'm not sure who from them got the license, but
Hmm.
several big funds hold this license right now. And this license is allowing venture capital to also do venture building, to do secondaries, to do roll-ups. So there's a trend of consolidation and basically, how would you call it? A change of the way venture capital operates today. So you will see more venture builders, in my humble opinion, in the
Okay.
future. This model will get more popular.
Okay. So then you mentioned deep tech. What constitutes deep tech?
So their definition of deep tech is technology that takes very long time to build.
Okay.
Very mellow, right? So basically,
Like where you need a lot of cash basically to start making cash?
cash and time. These are very long developing technologies usually. Of course, today we can argue that this definition no longer stands because you have LLMs and other developments that are accelerating the development in general.
Like I have clients who started building things with like outsourced development teams, like when you're talking like non-technical founders, and they spent hundreds of $1,000s and it took them months to get anywhere, and wherever they got to, they weren't satisfied. Comes vibe coding, they spend 15 minutes tweaking a model and they're already, and spent $5 and they're already at a much more viable MVP than what they initially spent hundreds of $1,000s and many months working with another team. So the timelines are getting shorter. Obviously,
Absolutely.
again,
Absolutely.
if it's this, which is why I'm asking like what is deep tech, because like if we're talking about like complex and convoluted um, processes, these might not be things that you could do with vibe coding, right? Vibe coding is much more appropriate for like, just very easy processes, like where maybe the flow is something that's novel, but the actual product is not. Um, so again, like what is deep tech?
The
Give me three
definition.
examples,
Yeah.
three
I'm
use cases.
Like take the easiest example, quantum as a deep tech, right? Quantum
Okay.
is the deepest tech, which takes forever to develop. And today we're not even sure whether we're going the right way because you see the bubble and big, delta in valuations and the whole evaluations and commercial activities and the whole thing, right? So that's quantum. Quantum is an extreme example of deep tech. Another example of deep tech is AI. Companies like DeepMind, of Google. This is a deep tech. It took forever, to develop, and it's still in development, right?
Yeah.
Or in crypto, take Ethereum. Ethereum has been conceived in 2014, right? ICO is 2015. It's still work in progress. Still, every
I mean,
6 months,
and like any tech that you constantly release updates. Also, Ethereum is a tech that the purpose of it is to build off of it or on it. And so, like by default, it's something that will continue to evolve and mature. I don't know if that constitutes deep tech the way that you've. I don't know.
deep tech, the meaning of deep tech is complexity, technological complexity.
Well, I actually, I think the best way to understand like how easy it is to define this is like, tell me what the internal process is like with you and your partners at W Source. Like when somebody comes to you asking you to back them up, to back them, like, venture back them. Um, like what's the initial process that you run by? Like before you even decided this is something that you want to invest in, you presumably need to categorize like, is this in part of our investment thesis? Is this a deep tech?
It's very easy to say what is not deep tech than what is deep tech.
Okay.
If you want to, very quick, definition, right?
Okay.
But basically, any investment goes through the same criteria. You need to see whether this is a viable technology, whether you have people that have competence to deploy it, even if they're not going to build it themselves, where they have the ability and resilience, to get it where they say it's going to go. Whether there's a product market fit and how big is the market? What are you getting to? So these are typical questions for any investment process. It's not different for deep tech, right? Deep tech issue is that you need to hold for a very long time. It's a liquidity problem. You're going in for long. So in crypto, it's not something that people like. In
Yes.
crypto, you don't have many people that invest into deep tech. Let's put it this way,
Yeah.
except for people that have deep pockets, like funds that have deep pockets, right?
Okay. So
Because people a very short turnover. Yeah.
could you talk maybe about some of the investments that you guys have made, ones that you're excited about?
Well, the one that we are most excited about right now is medium deep tech,
Okay.
and it's called Lagoon.
Yeah. What is it?
Lagoon is a decentralized vault,
Okay.
which in the beginning, to be honest, when we were doing analysis, we had many fears associated with this product. And when I
Walt
share
or Vault?
Vault,
Walt, like the delivery service?
no, Vault, like, like a wallet, or Vault,
Oh,
like
a
in a bank.
vault. Vault.
Vault. You're
Yeah.
American. I'm
No,
not. So
but
sorry.
aren't like all like Walt's like if Vault's like used on Solana like for liquidity pools? Like aren't they all decentralized?
Look, decentralization in crypto is always a question mark. Let's keep it there. Yet
Okay.
recent,
There's a decentralization scale. Okay.
recent shortage of AWS has shown to you who is decentralized and to what extent. But yes,
Fair enough.
look, decentralized vaults is maybe not a very new concept, but recently it has been, very popular.
Okay.
So
Mainly
basically, like,
on Solana, no?
not necessarily,
Okay.
but basically there are different technologies at play. Many people are using Safe, if you're
Yeah,
familiar.
sure.
So Safe is the
Safe is the multi-sig
technology,
technology.
core technology that is used for all these vaults, most of them.
Okay.
And basically, there is always a security concern, always, because you put money in there, especially in this decentralized manner, what's going to happen, right? So it's always on the radar, and everybody's always asking, what if, what if?
Sure.
But it works nicely. So basically, you put your money into this decentralized worlds, and these worlds are curated. So you choose who you trust and who you don't trust. The recent crisis of curators of last week. I don't know if you want to cover it.
Yeah, we could definitely touch on that. We also have a client who was doing like this exact same thing. They launched They launched their like updated tech stack and they got hacked and like the entire thing tanked, unfortunately. But also curated vaults. They were specifically on Solana. But yeah, let's talk about last week.
So, I mean, there are two main players, right, in the whole yield game.
Hmm.
It's Aave and Morpho.
Sure.
So the concept is different because in Aave you have risk calculated in, so it's more safe, and Morph is more like, you have more liberties to do crazy things inside, but the risk is on you.
Hmm.
So this is where you have curators, and one of the famous curators is of course Gauntlet. They're
Hmm.
the ones that are managing the risk for you.
Sure.
So the issue was these guys that were using Morpho, because this is where a depict happened on several coins. So, I mean, the risk is always there. What are the strategies? And you need to understand the strategy of the curator you invest in with. But the technology should be there, the technology which enables you to invest in a decentralized manner.
So Lagoon is like infrastructure and presumably also an aggregator, right? Like they'll show you everybody who's on their infrastructure and will compare different vault rewards, and
Yeah,
then
you
you
can
could
see
like
that.
click to
And
deposit via Lagoon.
you can choose the curator you trust. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, and you guys backed them from an early stage, presumably?
Yeah. They will be
Right.
raising soon if anybody's interested.
Okay. And anybody who's listening, you know that you could reach out to Danielle for that. I'll share her details when we publish the episode. Okay, very cool. So Lagoon is one of them. Sounds very exciting. What else you got going?
The other things are still on the low,
Okay.
still, in the grinding stage. I mean, we had a few bad ones like everybody else where we miscalculated. So we have like 2, 3 pivots
It's
on the
the
go.
right of purchase in this space.
Yes. But
Um,
in our space, we don't give up. Like I hear from other VCs when we discuss and they say, we write it off. We don't have this luxury. So we usually try to see how we can pivot and how we can,
how you can help the company pivot, you're saying.
yeah.
Like so as not to like write it off. Very cool. So like I understand that you can't talk about everything. Maybe you could share with me like some of the technologies that you're excited about in the space, things that you're keen on investing in. So if anybody's listening and they're building some really cool things that fit into what Danielle's excited about, you could reach out to her.
So I'm very excited about the layer 2 on Bitcoin, actually. I was
Interesting.
thinking in it for a
I thought
while.
that that's a complete waste of time. People keep talking, like you have a few Bitcoin maxis that keep writing about it, talking about it, and I'm like, this is a waste of time. It's not happening. Tell me why you're excited.
So I was also very skeptical about it.
Hmm.
But I spent like last more than 6 months looking into several developments there.
Hmm.
I can say that we're involved on the RGB side of these developments. I
Okay.
cannot elaborate more, but this is where we were looking at. So RGB is something that is promoted by Tether,
Hmm.
and it's enabling usage of Lightning.
Okay.
So it's a technology which has been sitting there, I think, for 5, 6 years, if not longer.
Okay.
It's a white paper by some guys sitting in Switzerland, and it's just never kicked off. And now several developments took place, and Tether is really promoted, and so we're expecting more releases, updates on it soon. But
Okay.
it's a space to watch, also
Okay.
from the privacy perspective. Very interesting solution. So RGB is one of them. Another one that we're looking at is OPCAT.
Not familiar.
It's a nation. You are familiar. It's something that Udi is doing, for
Okay.
example, or Eli Ben Sasson.
Yeah.
So this is a
When it's
something
like
that
a tool that's offered on Starkware.
it's something that should enable
Opka.
OPCAT, OP, and then minus cat, OPCATination. It's called.
Okay.
It's like I don't know how to put it properly that people basically it's like uniting two things.
Okay.
OPCATination. It's called. So basically, you have several projects in this area, and the most popular ones or known ones are the Wizards of Udi and Eric
Oh,
Wall.
Taproot Wizards. Right.
Exactly, they're using this technology, developing this technology. Eli Ben Sasson is doing it as well on Starkware, and
Okay.
this is to be the bridge to Bitcoin.
Hmm.
And there are more less known teams. There's a guy called Bruce, who is backed also by original founder of co-founder of Roger Ver.
Okay.
Who's backing him. Yeah, that's another team. There are several teams working on it.
Okay. Very cool.
So this is
And
something I think watch
what
it
type
could be
of
interesting.
what type of packages do you guys offer?
What type of packages we offer? We either can come and back with small tickets in the very beginning,
Hmm.
because that makes sense to us. If it's later, then we can offer venture building à la carte, which means we can take over from
Spoken like a
you.
true marketer.
Oh, yes. We taking over commercialization.
Okay.
So we might not be able to invest because the valuation will be too high for us, but we can support the project on deployment of the technology to
Okay.
the markets where we're active in.
Very cool. Question for you. And this is something that like I've been thinking about for a while, and I think you could probably relate. Like our industry, when I say our industry, I mean the crypto industry. I know that you're in deep tech generally, but like let's just like zoom in on crypto for 1 second. In the crypto industry is unique in that you could go to like 4 or 5 events a year and you could see everybody and anybody in the industry. So like any clients, potential clients, partners, potential partners, everybody just kind of shows up for these big global events. And there's obviously many, many more, right? There's tens of events and there's lots of, there's big turnout at all of them. But like really you could tap in at just like a few events to like, enough for you to go to these five and like you're in the game. And I know, we travel frequently to a lot of these events, and I know you do as well, which is kind of why I wanted to get your thought on it. Like what do you think is the A gameplay and B value in participating in these conferences?
Hmm, a tough one. Um, to be
I,
honest,
I think you're barely home, right? You're constantly traveling. I
that's
don't.
true. That's
uh,
But
So
I do not ever go just for the event myself.
right,
Always go because we have something going on in this specific market. Because I get like a
because
bunch
it's
of,
a good excuse for
yeah,
everybody in the industry to kind of just show up. So like you'll schedule a meeting the week before, or the week
it's very
after.
convenient. Yeah, you
Yeah,
do most at the same time. So you hear the latest news, you interact with some people, shake hands, you do what needs to be done.
yeah,
In the same
sure,
time, you schedule the meetings.
yeah,
But lately, I realized that it's more efficient for my business to go actually to small events or to
okay,
events where there's a concentration on the subject that we're working on.
hmm,
To give you an example, I no longer travel to Token 2049 in Singapore.
okay,
Why? Because it has become too big. It's too big to cover. It's too hectic. There's too much noise, so distraction from business, because we go to do business, right? So basically, there's 700 events, side events. It's way too much. You cannot be everywhere. And the culture of this particular event is more like drinking and having fun and partying, which is amazing and I love it for sure. But it doesn't serve my business objectives. So, same event in Dubai, Token 2049 in Dubai is much more efficient for me.
personal. Hmm.
Yeah, because it's smaller scale and I get to sit down and I get to do what needs to be done. So that's my perspective, for example, on the huge events. On the other side, to give you another example, is ETHCC, the event that is taking place always in the summer.
In Paris.
French, yeah, the French Ethereum event, which sadly moved out of Paris. My God,
Yes.
what a miss, but
Yeah.
a deal. So basically, this event is also pretty big, and there are many side events, but this event is more like builders event. So this is where you go when you need me, like where I go, where I need more insights on certain technology,
Hmm.
need more like, peer review, or, where I really need to see like many different
When
teams.
you say insights in different technology, you mean to like vet the vet technologies that you're considering investing in?
I mean, I do not necessarily invest in everything that I
No, so
watch. I have a
so
watch
what do
list,
you mean like
right? So
mhm,
I need to have an idea because sometimes the technologies I will not specifically invest in, but I need to know how they develop for other technologies that we have in.
Interesting. Okay.
I need to have a global picture of what is going on because many things will merge. There's also such a thing as convergence, right? So I have to watch more than what we actually deploy. So for that, these events are very handy because you have builders and you have sub event, the side events will be like event on intent, event on wallets, event on MCP, event on ZKs. There will be like sub events on the subjects that I need. So this is where I will find experts. This is where I will find prominent projects. And this is where I will also find fellow investors with whom I can exchange notes, right? So that's useful.
Very nice. Okay. I appreciate that input. Um, in addition to W Source, you're also a venture partner at R3I Ventures. What is that?
Right. I'm a silent partner there. This is a deep tech fund.
Okay.
It's the fund that we invested with in Quantum, for example.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Because technologies are very complicated to invest in. So you need certain passporting and setup.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Okay. Have you found that like it's like if you find a company that you're particularly interested in that you need to compete with other, bigger VCs to get the ticket, or your offering is unique enough that that like companies know when like there's a right fit for the services that you have to offer, like you guys are typically the go-to.
Unique enough in the complex products. Yes. This is
Okay.
where we really have age, honestly. Like
Yeah. Which is
this
why you stay in that deep tech,
this is why I stay in this
because like that's where you also have like the extra value add.
yeah. Because in others, I think many people are doing extraordinary good job. And I think many VCs are happy to help with biz dev
Yeah,
and things. I'm not basically, we should not underestimate the efforts that other funds are doing,
absolutely.
right? But if you don't know how to penetrate the market, getting biz dev advice or connections will not take you there.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Thank you very much. This is great. For any of our audience who are listening and they want to get in touch, either for you to back them or to invest in some of your portfolio companies, of which you've only shared one,
Good.
uh,
That's the
what's
one
the
that is
best way to
free.
get in touch with you?
Um, on Telegram or on LinkedIn, anything goes. But it's actually, I have a question for you.
Oh, I hate when people do that.
But
Go
it's,
ahead, left-handed redhead.
I told you from the beginning, I informed you. Look, I had a panel right now with Solana and R3 in Hong Kong,
Uh-huh.
where the last question was this. So the way things develop and we all, root for decentralization. What do you think the future is? Is the future will be regulated by code or by the regulator? That's the question to you.
It's a good question. What do I want or what do I think?
What do you think?
Okay, so there's a big mind fuck here. Okay, number one, like I see why regulation could be complicated. Okay, and could have issues. Like I hate the traditional banking system. Okay, I am reminded that every day when I have to engage with any of my bank accounts or any of my traditional financial products. Like there's a middleman. They give you absolute hell when you want to take your own money and do something with it. They make you go through loops just to open an account. Like they make you feel like a criminal at every point. And so I think decentralization is beautiful. The saying goes for, and I'm not talking about like crypto and non-crypto, I'm talking about decentralization because like it's the same thing when you go into an exchange, whether or not we're talking about AYC KML related issues or just platforms being freaking jerks, okay, and deciding to freeze your funds for no reason, and then actually this morning, so you think, okay, decentralization is the free world, not your keys, not your cash, get on your own non-custodial wallet. I just saw somebody write this whole post this morning that like took me even deeper down the rabbit hole where they're complaining about how Tether recently freezed somebody's $26 million in somebody's non-custodial wallet. And then it's like, you can't trust anybody anymore. Even in non-custodial wallets, you have private, you have blockchain, you have stable coins like Tether that are, you could do whatever they want. They could reverse transactions and they could freeze assets. So you can only turn to Bitcoin, which is also I don't agree with. I mentioned to you before how it's such a clunky blockchain to build on, and it's not anonymous, and there's plenty of issues with Bitcoin. I don't think it's the be all and all. I like Bitcoin as an asset, as a store for value. I don't think there's anything to write home about as far as its technology. As far as building on it and like widespread use, it's slow, it's expensive. Um, I will like put an asterisk and say like I think Tether is not, it doesn't blase freeze people's assets. There's a process there as well, and there needs to be some kind of a balance, right? On the one hand, you want to be able to interject when there is widespread crime or whatever, and at the same time, you need there to be some degree uh, of freedom. Okay, I do believe in the freedom aspect. Um, People who come into blockchain for the first time, they're always like, "Oh my god, I sent it to the wrong address. Who do I call?" Like, dude, you don't call anybody. There's like the pros and the cons. The pros are everything we mentioned, no middleman. The con is that you're on your own, for better or for worse. So going back to your question, regulation by law, by regulators or by code, I think that we should first and foremost regulate by code. I also think that we need to have um, like actual viable regulation. Regulation that really more in the forms of guidelines and less in the forms of like invasive control. I don't like that you turn this on me. I don't like talking too much typically, but So I'm for regulation. First by code. I do think that code is law and it should be law. But also, I think that there are checks and balances to the code is law need to be in the form of regulation by regulators.
So it's a combination. You're saying it's a combination.
I think it's a combination. And I think like one of the best examples is like the Mango Markets hack manipulation, whatever you want to call it,
It was
where like
a strategy.
so really that's the question. Actually, the courts ruled that was true, that code is law, and it was a strategy, and so from a code is law perspective, there was nothing wrong. At the same time, if you look at it, you say, okay, maybe this wasn't wrong, but like, was it morally right? I don't know. And what I like about regulation by regulators is that almost always you're able to look and say, okay, there's like rhyme and reason here. There's an ethical layer. There's a moral layer. There's like question of like what's right and what's wrong. And so I like that. The problem with that always is that when you let somebody else interpret what's right and what's wrong, we don't always as a society agree that what the regulator deems right or wrong in this scenario is actually right or wrong. And then we end up giving too much authority to regulators, courts, other third-party actors to determine what's right or wrong. And usually it's in their benefit and we end up losing out. So it's a balancing act. I know that I didn't really answer your question because I just like said like
You
it
did, because
depends.
I said that I had this question and RCI refused to reply, which was interesting because it's a bank,
Yeah.
the association.
And by refusing to reply, they gave an answer.
Exactly. Solana said regulator, which was interesting.
Yeah. Because Solana knows that they're not the favorite. So like if they want to be the favorite, then they need to carry up to regulators, which is why we have like the first Israeli stablecoin, shekel stablecoin is going to be on Solana. Why? I do not know. Probably because they're carrying up to regulators. Like really, like Solana is whatever. I'm not going to give my opinion on what I think about Solana's tech, but yeah, you got me down a rabbit hole there.
Thank you. No, I mean, I wanted to hear your perspective, and I think other people would like to hear it as well, but it's up to you. You can.
All right. Well, if other people would like to hear it, we'll have numerous opportunities over the next few months, hopefully traveling together where you can put me on a stage and I'm happy to share my opinion with others. going back to you, where's the best place for people to find you? Telegram and LinkedIn, you said, and you're on X as well, right?
I'm everywhere. I'm not an open networker, so I leave a mail address on my LinkedIn where people can. I know.
Email
Look, I
sucks.
had my website and my account DDoS so many times that it's a
Okay.
different story. It was in crypto,
Yeah.
so
All right. So then,
anybody can write, and I will definitely reply. There is a mail, so I will send you all the
okay,
details.
great. I'll
Everything
share
is
in
out.
the episode. And thank you so much for joining. This is great.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Code. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, share with your friends, and to tune in again next week for more fun and insightful conversation.